All right, so today we will be going over Java Set 3, 10 questions. So yeah, let's get started here. So number one, for the code given below, determine the output by selecting the correct option. FYI, the digits in the first two options should actually be in a new line, but are the same line here to increase the readability. Okay, so it looks like we have a basic JavaScript recursive function. We have a function called myFunction, passing 5. And it just prints out the number, and then it just checks if the number -1 is greater than 0, and if so, it'll call the recursive method here all the way down. So upon first glance, this might seem like it'll just work, and it will print out 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not 0 because we're checking if a-1 is greater. However, one small thing makes this actually a syntax error, and that is right here. So if you look at these two symbols here, in JavaScript, the notation to declare a function is actually the flip of this. So this should be equals, and then this should be the equals with the right caret. So it's a really small thing and it's easy to miss, but important in JavaScript. So because of that, because we have this here and this there, this will actually end up with a syntax error. So D as our answer. All right, number two, for the given JavaScript function and its subsequent implementation, find the correct output. Okay, so just like before, we're trying to determine what the type of output is. Hello world as an input. And then we have a toString object right here, object.prototype.toString. Let str equals the toString.call. So we're calling that toString on whatever the value is, and then we times it by 12. So we times it by a number. So this is it may seem a little confusing at first, but what ends up happening is we end up getting C as our answer here, and the reason being is the multiplication by 12 right on this line, it changes the type of the return from a string into a number. So now the return is a number type variable and not a string, and that's something that's unique to JavaScript. And if you didn't know this before, this is just something to keep in mind. If you call a to.call on a type string, but we multiply by a number or any kind of mathematical operation, it ends up being a type number as the result. So we have C, number, as our answer here. All right, number three, for the given code snippet, identify the errors, if any, by choosing the line number for containing the error in this line of code from the given options. All right, so let's just go through each line one by one then. We have function that takes an A, that's looking fine. Var out equals, so we declare a function within the name here that returns 5 times x, so 5 times whatever the input is. And then we console out that output here, and then this is just a function call itself. Okay, so on first glance, it might actually seem that it's incorrect because the function has no name. However, this is actually fine in JavaScript. We are allowed, the function names are actually optional and this is only for functions that are defined within expressions. So if we define a function within an expression, the name itself actually becomes optional. Now, of course, we could add a name here, but in this case, this is still valid. So if with that in mind, everything else looks like it checks out, it'll return 25. So none of the above is the answer here. There's no errors. All right, number four, match the terms given in the first list with their corresponding property from the second list by selecting the correct match from the given options. Okay, so we have global, variable, and local. So for this, I'm just going to read up the answer and then go back and explain why that is the answer. So the final answer here will be B. 312. So let's go over these one by one. So for A, global, this is actually, so in strict mode, undeclared objects are not automatically of this type. And this is true. This is just a standard rule for global. If we, do the global, if you make it in strict mode, then undeclared objects are definitely not automatically of that type. This is just something, a fact to know about JavaScript. And then looking at B, we have variable. So B is actually the first one here. All functions are declared are of this type. And this is true. Every single function in JavaScript, unlike Java, unlike other programming languages, functions are essentially just variables. So that's another thing to know. And then of course, C, we have C is 2. So local, these may or may not exist till the end of the program, and that is true. For like in JavaScript, like local variables may or may not exist until the end of the program. So these are just kind of, these are not really any, like logical deductions. You just basic rules about JavaScript to know what these kind of 3 terms mean. All right, so yeah, we got B as our answer. Let's move on. Number 5, for the given code, find the output. Okay, so looks like we have 2 functions here, and then we have the main code right here. So let's start the main. We have a local variable that's declared as 6, and then we just call my function passing in that 6. Okay, so we're in my function. This A is 6. Now we have a local var equals 5, and one thing to know is a big thing in JavaScript, and actually most languages, is scope and how variables within different scopes work. So as you can see in the global scope, we have local var set to 6. However, within the function, we have another variable also called local var as 5. So what this is saying is within this my function, any reference to local var is referencing the local copy of that, not this one out here. So when we do the console.log, this will end up being the +5, not the +6. All right, so, and then let's figure out what this another function. So this is the other function call. Now remember, A is still 6. So we call 6. So 6 times 6 in here is 36. So this will end up being 36. And then this just equals 41. So everything checks out here, no errors. We end up having 41 as our final answer. Number 6, if there is a JavaScript code where a local and global variable share the same name, the global variable declared first and then the local variable inside the same function, what will happen once the program is executed? So we have A, an error will be raised due to multiple variables sharing the same name. B, the local variable will always get overridden. C, the global variable will always get overridden. And D, none of these above. Now, upon first glance, you might think that one of the answers is either one of these two, because you're thinking with the local and global scope, one of the other two is going to get overridden. However, the answer is actually D, because it really depends. What matters is the scope in which the variable is being accessed. If the function accesses the variable, then it will only work as a local variable. And if it's accessed outside any functions, then it will be a global variable. So yeah, it really depends on where the variable is being accessed. So we have none of the above as our answer for number 6. All right, find the output of the given code. So we have an outer function and an inner function inside the outer function, which takes a variable, declares it as 25, and just multiplies it by 2, looks like. So in the main code here, we have the call to inner function, and then we print out A. Now, what this ends up doing is this will actually end up being a reference error, and that's because the scope of A is only restricted to inside this inner function. So any reference to A outside of it, it can't find where that is. The scope is only restricted to these 4 lines. So this will be a scope issue, and it'll complain and say, hey, A is not defined. We don't know what A is. So answer here is C. All right, moving along. Number 8, from the JavaScript code snippets given in the options, identify the one which will run correctly, giving the output hello Dexter. Okay, so these are just various ways to print out a string, and these are a little tricky, but let's just go through these one by one. So we have str equals new string. Now this looks a little bit weird, and if you're familiar with Java, you might think that this will be a syntax error, and in Java this will be. However, in JavaScript, this is actually valid. You can just do new string without the parentheses. So this is actually going to be fine. Let's look at here. We have new string, and now we have the parentheses, and of course this is fine as well. So we just have hello and then Dexter. So this is fine as well. And then here we have just str equals hello, just kind of declaring it right in one line. And that's also fine. We're in JavaScript, we are allowed to declare and initialize variables at the same time. So we have str is hello and then hello Dexter. So this is fine as well. So as you can see here, all of these actually work. So the answer is D, all of the above. All right, number 9, for the 4 statements given, 1 per each option, identify the one that is incorrect according to JavaScript programming conventions. Okay, so again, I'm just going to start with the answer here and then go through an explanation. So the answer for number 9, we're going to have A, and that's because so this just kind of like requires a basic kind of just an understanding of the different JavaScript methods. And in this case, if you're familiar with search, or if you've used the search method, you'll know that when you call the search, it only takes one argument. It does not take a second start position. So this is just incorrect. Now we can still go through the other ones. Index of cannot take powerful search values like regular expressions. This is true. And of course, the slice method extracts a part of a string and returns the extracted part in a new string. And yeah, that's a description of what the slice does. So yeah, A here is incorrect. The search method does not take 2, it takes 1 argument. All right, lastly, which of the following features of the strict mode in JavaScript? Now, this is basic, you kind of just have to know in a bit what strict mode does. And then, in a few later lessons, we'll go more in depth on what strict mode is and the implications of it. Basically, strict mode, it enforces a lot of rules within the code, such as, and the biggest rule is that you cannot have any undeclared variables in it. It's going to complain and saying, hey, please get rid of these undeclared or unused variables. And strict mode, so the answer here, again, I'm going to read off the answer here, is 3 and 4 are correct. So let's look at 3. All modern browsers support ustrict except Internet Explorer 9. So again, a ustrict is the part of the code that evokes strict mode. And yeah, this is just true. All modern browsers nowadays support this ustrict. And then strict mode has a global scope. That is also true because you want the strict mode to apply to the entire program on a global scale. So this is also true. So yeah, we have 3 and 4 is true. So we have B as our final answer. And of course, if you look at 2 here, just like I explained earlier, this is the opposite of true. Strict mode does not allow usage of undeclared variables. The whole point is to enforce that all that all variables are declared and used. So obviously we have here 3 and 4 is correct. All right, so that concludes the 10 questions for, again, this is JavaScript set number 3. And as usual, we have all of our videos and explanations uploaded both to our website as well as to our YouTube channel. Just search in this name right here. Thank you.